All right.
Hello. Welcome back to another video of what we're calling the Lucy Davis show these days. I am so excited, and I know a lot of you have been messaging me saying, when are you getting Debs back on? When is Debs coming back? So I'm really excited to let you know the infamous Debs is back on today, and I'm so excited to be sharing this beautiful space with my soul sister, with somebody who I class as a mentor and somebody who I just love so much. And today, I've got goosebumps all over me. Oh, I love it. Today, we are talking about a subject that I know I speak about quite a lot in my groups, but from a totally different perspective to the angle that we're coming through today. For anybody that has been following me for a while, you know I have been talking to my child that I do not have yet and bringing that child in for quite some time. I know that there's certain things that I've had to do from a mission perspective, but now I'm at the point where I'm chatting to this child and it's just a case of a matter of time and, setting the tone and everything like that. So today we are going to go deep on this subject. Today's video is called Your Children Choose You. And I am so excited. And again, I've got goosebumps all over me to be speaking with somebody, like I say, who I class as one of my mentors, but also somebody that has lived this as truth from the get-go prior to her son being born 13 years ago.
Yep, he's 13 now. Yep.
13 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, my love, we've had a great chat offline, and we were high-vibing, right?
We have.
First and foremost, thank you for coming back, babe. Like, I know that this was never going to be your preferred approach to do things, but I love the fact that you stepped into it, and I will share all of the details, plus your new YouTube channel with all of the gold we're going to talk about.
That's awesome.
Today. And that will be in the
it hasn't. It's funny because it hasn't been my preferred way, but now it is. And so many things have been happening. Like, I think I posted this on my Facebook page, where a 13-year-old child there was a comment saying, my mum and dad think I'm mad. They've had the, thing, and I haven't, and I won't have it because I know it's not right. So when little kids and young ones start messaging across your Facebook page and stuff like, I'm like, whoa, got to speak up here, got to get out there. And actually that young lad and a couple of others made us, even Caleb and I, just sit down and go, what can we help the world with, So yeah, it sort of sparked us into a new gear. So now I am keen to speak to people like this because I really feel the message needs to get out there, and people need to understand how to work with these beautiful beings. And you call them little beings, right? I call them little gods, or they're, powerful beings of light. But, they're changing the world in many different ways. And there's different ways to interact with them as well, whether you have one as a child or it could be a grandparent too, any caregivers as well. So hopefully what we share, some of this will help those people as well. So yes, for me, my goodness.
Just before you go on, Debs, can I just bring something in? Because what I've loved in the last couple of weeks, particularly, is obviously I've been to your home. You've welcomed me into your home twice.
Yes.
I've stayed with you.
You've slept in this room.
I know. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I recognise that angel there.
Yeah.
So, I've actually experienced you and your family unit, and admittedly it was a few years ago now, but back then you were very clear, nothing goes on social media. Like, you can have all the photos you like, but nothing goes on social media.
That's true.
And I just wanted to bring that into consciousness for people, because some people may be like, oh, we know that there's, some people out there that might not be the purest, and, maybe I have got a gift to share. And I just would really like, and I know we're going to cover it off through what we're going to speak about, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that point, because you were literally that mama bear that was like, no one's getting in here. No one's seeing this.
Yes, true.
And now you've gone, okay, the world's ready for this, and the world needs this more importantly than it's ready. The world needs it right now.
Definitely. And when you're in alignment, babes, you're going to do that. You're going to follow your heart. You're not going to sit in the corner and, and shut yourself away. But we just liked our privacy. We love living in our family unit. It's all very conscious, and we didn't want people in our world. But like I say, this young lad, and a couple of things that have happened, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting on 13, 14 years worth of wisdom, living, breathing in this conscious family unit with an awakened sun firing on all cosmic cylinders, having the time of my life. People need to know how you can do this.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing it this way, it's okay too. There's other things we can share for people that are in a karmic type of relationship. So there are different parent-child relationships on the planet right now. And before, I got on this call, I was really thinking about this because, I really know, like deeply from the core of my being, it's knowing, not believing, that our children choose us. Get right back to the title, our children choose us. Now, we also choose them. It's all done on a soul level. It's pure, there's deep meaning to it, and there's never any mistakes. That's the first thing. I know about it through my living, like you mentioned, living consciously and connecting with our son before, and we'll talk more about that. But I also know it from like 13, 14 years of quantum healing work I've done with people. Why? Because people come to me all the time, Lucy, and they're saying, I don't know why I chose my dad, but I know I chose him for some reason. Or someone comes to me and they've got like a young child and there's something wrong. They don't understand it, so they need to go quantum, do some work and check out what's going on. So I've been doing that for over a decade. So I love to give examples, right? So you've got two types of relationship. You've got what I call, it's cute, it's the karmic balancer. So the child chooses the parents because they're going to help each other, they'll unpack things, and they need to resolve old issues. Now, the most precious thing about that relationship is that right now, this life is one of the last lives in this paradigm, this kind of way we're working on this planet. And so the parent-child relationship, normally that child's chosen the parent and vice versa because they really want to sort their stuff finally out from all the lifetimes they've ever had. It's so precious, so beautiful, and such a pure parent-to-child relationship. But it has its challenges, all right? So there's going to be things come up, and sometimes the kids might present with having something like autism or ADD, or they might be sensitive to food, have food allergies or whatever. So that karmic balancer relationship is precious, it's beautiful, and the planet needs that relationship because that really affects the planetary grid, the whole family planetary grid. It's huge. So anyone who's doing that, we love you. You're doing it a bit tougher, but I want you to know that this is a last lifetime that you're going to be really bringing wholeness to this, and it's quicker and easier to do than ever. So like in the quantum sessions that I do, we look at anywhere you've been with your child, whatever you've been with each other over time, and we can pretty much bring it all into wholeness because the planet needs it, you need it in your family. And go for it. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'd actually really like to bring it into people's consciousness that this is why I chose my parents this lifetime. My dad and
Yes.
I am a brilliant living example of let's talk about my dad rather than my mum right now. Mm-hmm. I chose my dad and we've gone on this huge journey together. And I feel now we have brought our relationship into wholeness. Like we have such a beautiful
That's awesome
relationship. But that's, as you know, Debs, because you've been contributory to that, it's been a lot of years of work.
Yeah. And it can be tough at times, right? But because we can't run away from our family, that's why we have it. So what I would say to everybody is, hey, sort out that family part, your mums and dads, be at peace with all of this, be at peace with your siblings. And of course, that's what we do in quantum sessions and probably what you do with some of your people anyway. Yeah. That's so important. But it also happens with the child. All right, the little child, like now we've got these bright beings, as you call them,
Really
and
fun.
that will still front up as well. So you'll be karmic balancing with them. But there's ways you can quicken that. But I want you to know deeply from the soul to soul level, that's amazing that you guys are choosing to wrap it all up in this life. It is a precious gift you're giving the planet, right? And these karmic balancing parent-child relationships are interesting because like I'm going to give you some examples. So I really think we have to keep like real life examples here. It helps people get it. So for example, once I had this lady, bless her, she had a 2.5-year-old loose, and she had full-blown cancer, this girl.
Oh.
And so she said to me, I know, right? So what's the immediate reaction we have? We go, oh, poor little bubba. Oh, mum, terrible. So anyway, once you get to a quantum session, you go, so what's going on here on the other levels? Well, we did a bit of a journey and found out that 2.5-year-old girl was chose to have cancer to enable the mum and dad to come back onto the same page emotionally. So the mum and dad had been sort of going their own ways. They had the daughter, but they were still not on the same spiritual page. Well, that 2.5-year-old basically chose to come in, and she knew she was going to have that. I mean, that's how strong these souls are. Yeah. And they're like, right, I need to really tidy this up. I'm going to help my mum and dad. Boom. So this is an example, though, of this type of relationship, you know, where it can be quite intense. But that child now is healed of cancer. She's healed. She said she would heal because we talked to her in the session, and I can talk to people's kids through them, you know, although now I'm talking more to the kids direct. And she said, her higher self said, I'll heal when you guys get it together. And she has.
Wow.
And these people are close in my neighborhood, so I know that. So there's one example.
Seriously,
I've got thousands. But
this is so fascinating, though, because I've used a very similar example, but with leukemia rather than, like, I know leukemia is a type of cancer, but with leukemia. And it's just fascinating that you said that. So first and foremost, thank you for validating completely on
what you already knew.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's bringing it into people's consciousness again, and that's what's most important. Every single soul is coming through with a mission, whatever that may look like,
yes.
even if we can't physically monkey brain comprehend it.
Yes. So let's take something like autism or whatever they want. I mean, there's all these names, okay, that psychologists, and I've got some psychology training. So, you know, they go under sort of certain umbrellas because of a collective, you know, a collection of symptoms. But, you know, think about what autism stands for. You know, it's helping the parent of that child go inward. That it will definitely get them on the path. Definitely, because they can't communicate with their child in a way that they would normally do it on Earth. So that child may have come from, you know, further afield and doesn't have a lot of experience on Earth, but it may have chosen just to come with the autism so it would wake the mum or dad up and get them back into alignment with who they are. So, and they're also showing humanity, those beautiful beings, where people just need to get back inside and stop shouting it out to the world. Get in here. It's all in here. So that's another little example. I mean, there are different variants on that for different clients and different people I've seen, but that's a biggie. ADD is a biggie for me as well. So, you know, clients come and I'm doing a session with them and they're like, my son's got this. And I'm like, oh yeah, nothing wrong with him really, but let's just see what's going on with you. Right. So it could be so simple though, right? Because, and first and foremost, like, don't feel sorry for the kids because they know what they're doing. They need that ADD or autism to shake the parents. So they're cool with that. They're strong beings, right? Because we often look at the child and go, oh, and it's like, no, it's all right. So anyway, this particular mum, I said to her, and this kid, well, you know, it was only 8. And I said to her, how do you live like your daily life? You know, she's telling me and everything. And for her, she was very stressed in her head, very mental. And that's one of the reasons she was coming to me. And I said to her, did it occur to you, and I know you would have talked about this with your people, that your child is mirroring your mental fractiousness? You know, that's one thing. I mean, it's never just one thing, it's more. So that was interesting. So we looked at that. But then that child was doing things like gaming, never got the feet on the grass, never earthed, never connecting to earth. And your whole body needs that connection to earth. You need to get your feet on the grass or at the beach or wherever you go, doesn't matter. Even if it's like a patch of grass on your front lawn, even if you haven't got a garden, take your shoes off at the bloody park, right? So this kid was not earthing, he was gaming, and he was eating all the wrong foods. So what we helped to do is pull all this together. But what it did was the kid was really waking her up to what she needed to do. So they both needed to earth. They both needed to eat different. They both needed to get off tech. It's the call to live differently. So that's another example. And so often I get clients that have got things wrong with their children, but the children don't need fixing. The environment needs to change. They need to wake up, So yeah, we've got that type, but then I've done this for so long that I've got this type too. And where people come to me and they say to me, I've got a real problem with my dad, right? So, and this guy came, this is a wee while ago, but he sticks in my mind. It was a corporate man, and we've been there, so we know what that's like. You're in your head and you've got these things going on. And he said to me, Deb, my dad, you said to me, your parents choose you or I chose my parents. I'm like, yes. And he said, well, I'm really trying to work out why I chose my dad. He said, because all my life, Deb, he said, I felt that big in the presence of that man. And I felt like he's condescending and he's really made me feel small. And I'm like, he said, I really need to find this out. So anyway, we did a bit of a journey. And the reason he chose that dad was because that dad basically didn't give him the strength, like didn't show he didn't buffer him up and make him feel great. He made the client that came to me, he made the client go inward and find his own strength. Yeah. It was profound. He was like, oh my God. So my dad not helping me out, not making me feel very good, made me go inside and get strong. And I'm like, yeah, but there's more to this story. About 4 weeks later, I often get these funny phone calls or someone message me on the email, because they don't realize what they're doing in a quantum session. Then like weeks later or years later, they tell me, oh my God, that was amazing. So anyway, he says to me, Deb, you won't believe what happened. I said, oh yeah, I will, tell me. He's like, oh, my dad and I went away for a weekend, just the boys. I'm like, oh yeah. He said, Deb, he said, he's not like that with me. It's not like that with me anymore. And he was like, kind, and just the whole relationship's changed. And I said, yeah. So you chose your dad. You realize now why. You've got your strength back. It doesn't have to play that role for you anymore. From soul to soul, he was helping you out. Amazing. Boom. He's like, he cried. I mean, it's amazing. So, for 13 years, I've been doing all of that work on the side, and then I'm doing the living consciously with my own child in a different way. Yeah. So your children definitely choose you. And if you're questioning why you've got, something going on with a parent, then wake up to that, because you agreed to balance energy out, balance karma out. And I'll be honest and say this, I don't like the word karma. Karma's just a balancer, but we've all had other lives and there are things unresolved and we need to balance it. And that's kind of how I think about that. Yeah. So there are a lot of people doing karmic balancing parent-child relationships. Yeah. And they're definitely needed and they're serving the planet as well. And in fact, when parents get very much in line and their kids get in line too, they can end up being the opposite, the soul to soul. I'm connected on that level now. They shift.
I was just
into that very conscious.
Exactly that question, and it's great that you've linked into that. So
beautiful.
You can go from that into the conscious soul to soul. I love that, because that's what I think me and my dad have done.
And it feels so good. And it's really funny because in your personality part of you, sometimes you might get a phone call or something that niggles, but you go, oh, that was my personality just triggered, by something of old. And so something might sit there, but it has no emotional holder or it doesn't stir you or anything. So it's huge, and people have to do this because what we're doing is we're healing generational stuff, you know, as well in our families. So and I just want to say to everybody out there on this planet right now, it can be intense because you chose lives where you're clearing everything up this life. And I think people sometimes feel overwhelmed. But the good news is you can do it quicker by doing quantum work, and you don't have to go slow with this. The planet needs you to clear, whether it's you with your child, you with your mum and dad, or whatever. So stay on top of it, folks. You know, be true to your heart and really do it. Because yeah, this paradigm is definitely changing. You can feel it. Like it feels like things are breaking away. So we're getting chance to tidy up. You know, it's like, whoa, let's get tidy, clean it, get the mop out. You know what I mean? And you can do it quicker than ever, easier than ever, because the planet needs it.
And also, I don't know where you sit with this, because I've never spoken to you about this before, but I feel that the vibration on the planet at the moment is holding us accountable for our BS and almost like shaking it out of us. We have got nowhere to run. We've got nowhere to hide.
I like that.
We've got to clean it and we've got to cleanse it. And like you said, we've got to clean up. We just got to get it done.
Yeah, just get the bloody mop out. It's like, or the vacuum. So like the thing is, if you're going to clean up, you've got to do it. Obviously, you do your inner work, but you've got to do it by a quantum process, right? Because talking about it all day long doesn't work. You've got to use some sort of quantum process, right? And yes, you're dead right. You're not dead right. You're right. You know, you really just think about words, don't you? So basically it's shaking up. Yeah. And if you think about it, the more light that comes on the planet, the more this raises up. But what people probably need to understand just in general at the moment is it's not just that, obviously it's not this life stuff, it's all life stuff, but it's also stuff coming from our ancestral energies. Yeah. So once people have cleaned their energy body up, babes, they must get to the ancestors because they're carrying the ancestral stuff. Yeah. And if you want to be conscious, soul to soul with your child before that baby comes in and throughout, you really need to get to the ancestral stuff. That's like an umbrella, right? If you don't get to that, I've got a little bug in here. If you don't get to that, you'll find that child might start carrying some of it or might start trying to, you know, take some off you. So make sure you get to the ancestral stuff. So just going back to those karmic relationships, they're huge, and keep on, you know, keep on with your work. And when you do shift that pattern, what you'll find is that person's whole personality will change. Yeah. Whole personality, you know, that the mum or the dad will change, or the kid will change. And sometimes kids just, it's amazing. They really, once you've changed yourself, they will definitely mirror back different things to you. And you probably talk about the mirror all day long with people, you know, always look in the mirror and see what's happening with animals and especially children. So yeah, anyway, that's one type of relationship. But let's talk about the one, you know, I've had, and the one you'll have, and the one that everybody can have if they cleanse their own soul matrix. So once you get really whole with you, I mean, for me, I didn't even want to have kids. Wow. I mean, until I met Sa, I was like, nah. So it was never a thing for me until I was about 36, something like that. And then I met Sa and I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. So for me, I was conscious, and I know you're conscious, who that father would be, what it would represent. Is that male balanced? Like I'm balanced? Does this fit in? How could our family? So I was very conscious before I even chose to have him. And I know you are, right? It's important. And a lot of people obviously haven't done that. And then they get the repercussion of that. So you end up with that karmic balancing, but that's okay. You can still do that. It's all right. But if you want to be conscious, what you do is you really think about how you work together, and how you, and even have the chat before. So Sa and I had a chat and we said, hey, how do you see that family life? And the greatest thing was, I mean, I was more awake than hubby, but he recognized and knew and trusted me in the way I would parent. And he even talked about this before. So you can get that conscious before that, you know. That's the first thing. Right. The next thing is, once you decide to, go for your child, you really need to make sure of a couple of things, right? Check these off your list, right? Have I got any inner child, sadness left over? So anywhere in your soul matrix, your soul cake, your all your lives, have I, is there anywhere left over? Has my inner child been attended to? Because the inner child will sabotage things, and the inner child, once you've actually fully integrated that, it's really fun when you've got a kid, because like you just play, like it's like it's so cool. Like it brings out your child, and there's like, we still have this, like it was like this down the beach today when we're running along the sand. So like you have the sense of more joy when you have your child as well, when you've got your own inner child in. So if you find yourself being all too serious and all too straight and everything's got to be, hungry, like perfect, then you probably you probably got too much adult, not enough inner child going on. So it needs a balance. So inner child, totally important. Second thing is the ancestral thing. So if there's any old ancestral patterns, like mental patterns, like, oh, my dad was like that, then I'm like that, and clear it. Right. Now here's the next one, and this is so important, babes, and I'm going to tell every woman and man to do this because it relates to our beautiful men. All right. And there's a lot of balanced males out there now. Heal wherever you've been a parent that has been, I wouldn't say negative, but that's had a negative experience. So it might be somewhere where, you haven't been such a good mum or dad, and there's been repercussions of that. It might be where you've birthed a child and died in childbirth. Boom, boom. Girls, you've got to check that out. If you've got anything like that in your matrix, what will happen is you'll start to get fear come up before you birth or whatever. So just tune into yourselves and say, right, is my inner child sorted? Have I sorted out where I haven't been such a perfect parent before, if you know what I mean? There's no such thing as a perfect parent, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And because, I had one in my soul matrix where I'd had this old life where I'd been a bit of a druggie, and what happened was I watched this movie one day and I bawled my eyes out, and then I realized it was me from an old life where I hadn't been there for my kids. We've all done that, but if you're choosing a really conscious life, you got to clean that up, because that will have you sabotaging your connection. So that's that. Then what you do,
can I just say something like that really quickly? Yeah. Sorry to
absolutely.
I know, and you obviously know because we've done this together. So I had a past life where I actually terminated a pregnancy myself and then bled to death. And I think it's really important to recognise. So I've done a lot of work on this particular area because of a lot of things that have happened physically.
Yes, you have.
In this lifetime, and it's been releasing all of my ancestral trauma. Quite interesting that my voice is going a little bit now.
Yes.
Very interesting, very interesting. So my point of sharing this is at the end of September this month, I'm doing something which I don't do very often. I do perhaps once a year, where I actually look at not only an individual's sexual trauma, but also planetary sexual trauma. So there's a lot of us out there that are I've just got to help the kids that have been abused. And I was one of those, right, for a reason. So what we do is, in like a 2-hour evening thing, we come together and we cleanse a lot of that off, and we just pull our energies together and kind of heal. So if that's something that you guys might be like, oh my gosh, this is ringing so true, that is literally in a couple of weeks' time. Okay, so I'll pop the link in the description. If you guys want to join us, please feel free to do so. But that just popped right up into my head then, because I remember, I mean, I'm not obviously going to go into any more details, but I remember exactly how I did it, exactly where I was, and exactly the situation, why it had to come back up, and exactly why I've had the miscarriages that I've had this lifetime living in this Lucy Davis vessel. This work is profound, ladies and gents. It's profound.
Yes, it is.
If you can dedicate the time and the love and the energy to getting into, like Deb says, your whole soul matrix and unpicking it, like, I know I will have a conscious relationship and a conscious child. I know it. I don't know how I know it, but I know it. I don't question it. It's been
And the beautiful thing is you don't know it, you know it, and you know it's going to happen, and you don't have to know the details, and that's because your heart knows it.
Exactly.
But you know, I honor you for doing your work like that, and I'm picking it, and you do have to. And I'm just telling, especially the girls out there, because all these sorts of fears can come up, and your body can show you traumas or feel trauma. And yeah, so just be really aware of that. And for the males also, where they've lost a partner in a child, you know, in a birthing process, because this has happened. I mean, it used to happen a lot years ago, all right, you know, centuries ago, and we've all had hundreds of lifetimes. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because if you want a really conscious relationship with your child and really easy birth, you really got to sort that stuff out, because that could actually, you know, you could end up having traumas you don't need to. Right. And I made the mistake of doing something. Now, this is very personal, and I'll tell you this because this is be aware of what you're saying as well. So when I was birthing, mine was all, you know, I want to be at home. Don't take me into that hospital, etc. You know, all of that. But I said, oh, look, I'll go to hospital if I need to. And of course, you know, I was 39 when I fell pregnant with Caleb, and, you know, they're all like, oh, gosh, you got to get in the hospital and all of that. So anyway, that didn't happen, you know, initially, and they were fine because I was in alignment. When you're in alignment, girls, the doctors will listen to you, by the way, and midwives will listen to you. So if you've got your alignment, you'll find it a lot easier to do the things that you want to do, natural stuff like home births. So please remember, don't fight doctors and nurses when you start going into those zones, because obviously they, you know, they need to check certain things. Always stand in your power and be in alignment, right? And then they listen to you, because they were really good. They let me, you know, stay home. But anyway, one of my things was, right, no bloody painkillers. And, you know, whew, it's intense, but no painkillers. I'm like, no, my baby's not having drugs and all of that, right? So what I got was a TENS machine, and I plugged it on me so I, you know, I could stop the pain sort of really register in my brain. So I could, a TENS machine is amazing if you're going to birth and you don't want drugs, all right? But anyway, here I am in my wide awake state. You know, I'm aware, like you're aware now. And, you know, I'm about to have this child, and I'm like, I'm not having painkillers. I'm going to transmute all that pain that the women have had across time for birthing. And I'm like, well, that came back to bite me. Not then, but a few years after that, I'm like, what's going on? It feels weird. It feels like I'm transmuting some female's pain. And it was because of what I said. Now, even when you're awake, girls, be careful what you say, okay? So I had to transmute that. But yeah, so with the birthing, you'll obviously want to do things natural ways. But just, you can actually talk to your child about that. So I put a recording out there, and Lucy's going to put the link under the video. Before you have your child, you can connect with it. This is what I did. So what actually happened, this kind of happened in an interesting way for me. So picture this, you know, I'm 4 months pregnant, and I'm sitting outside in the sun, you know, and I like a bit of sun like Lucy. So I was sort of sitting in the garden with, you know, most of my kit off, and I had this this belly, and I was doing a meditation, and I got sort of, you know, I was drifting up, and the next thing I felt a being on my back, and I'm like, what's this? You know, and I'm like, oh my God, it's my baby. I'm like, oh my God, I was 4 months. So he came in, and because I was awake enough, I picked it up. Anyway, so I said, you're my baby. And he's like, yeah. And so then I mean, for the next 6 months, we were talking on that level. So much so, guys, that he told me what he wanted to be called. He told me how to spell it, right? Please don't call your children names that you think that are right. Make sure the kids tell you. So you need to listen to my recording to, you know, speak to your child's soul, and do that, because names have vibration, words, you know, all of this means something. So yeah, it was quite profound. So I talked about birthing with him, and I said to him, how will you remember? We're talking spirit to spirit right now. And he said, just touch me on the head in these two places, and it will bring the memories to the physicality, and then I'll unfold it as I get older. And I'll tell you, everyone can do it. If you're awake and you line up with yourself, you can do this. And it's the most special, precious, amazing thing, because I always knew our path. I always knew what we were about to share what we're doing now. living very conscious family unit, and you will have profound moments, and you will never fear birthing, and it will just be, it's kind of this extra special thing. It's really hard to explain, but it could make me cry because it's so intense, but beautifully intense. Now, on that note, there are a few things that I used that were so good for me that stuck in my mind, and I might send these to Lucy via email. But there was this book I read, and it changed my life when I was pregnant, and it was called How to Nurture Your Child's Soul. And it's by a lady called Elizabeth Clare Prophet. And it was interesting, her surname, because I thought, wow. And it wasn't about religion, right? Because I think she, back in the day, was connected to religion. This was about what you can do for your child's soul, Lucy, before Bubs arrives, right? Before the energy arrives. So you can actually transmute karmic things. You can transmute funny patterns that they may have had in their body. You can do all sorts. That book, it's got like, it had this meditation where I did every night for 9 months, where I was like using the violet flame to purify anything, the connection between us, the body, the way the body was building through each trimester. It's all in that book. Anyway, the whole room would go purple, and I'd feel my baby here in my belly, but here it was kind of like this weird little thing, but it was beautiful. Hubby and I would be lying in the bed, and I'd say to him, "Can you see that purple?" He'd be like, "No, but I can feel how good this feels." So that book really helped me. And there was even a meditation in there about the DNA molecules in your children and you, and how you can purify them and all of that. So guys, please check it out. I know that woman's not alive anymore, but it was huge. And I even, get this is how pure you can get before you have a bubba. Like, I even wrote down traits that I would like to have in my child, like all sorts of traits. And guess what? I had about 30, and I really considered those traits because I thought, oh, that would be really cool to have a child that has these traits in this world, right? That's what I was thinking, right? And then I looked at them only the other day, because, doing this call brought all this back. And I was like, oh my God, Caleb's got every single one of those traits. Not one on that list that wasn't there. So we have a lot of input when we get conscious of this stuff before our bubs comes along. Perfect. It is amazing. It's so profound. And then when you're parenting this way, obviously they don't come out, and you don't hold them in front of you and go, they start talking to you, it sort of made me think about this the other day,
easier, wouldn't it?
If they knew what was in the composition of what was in their nappy or something. It's just weird, but what happens is they bring more of their consciousness, more of who they really are, in earlier than other children. So often you'll see a child and it's like they're not there. Like, you should try this, right? So look at the younger people and you'll see, the little ones, little toddlers, they might not be in their body. Not the consciousness doesn't always come in till a bit later. These star-seeded children, right, that come to conscious awake parents, they come in sooner. They bring more of themselves here. They walk faster, talk faster. They need different things. And that's something I know a lot about, that I've unfolded in 13 years. So you could say, been there, done that, doing that, kind of like, that's where I'm at. And it's all conscious. So, and the children are different. But I would have moments, Lucy, where I was like, I had Caleb in my arms and I was swinging him around. We'd be dancing in the lounge like you do when you have a little one. And I would see him, and then I would see another life. And it would be like where Caleb and I were dancers, ballet dancers. And I was like, oh my God, So when you're conscious, to have this experience and then speak to your child's soul, it's incredible. And think about this, guys. If you clean yourself up and you bring a child to this world, inside one household, you're clean, you hold a safe space for that little being, and they unpack their magic, and this comes to this planet. So in one family unit, you've just gone from, I looked at this and I thought, wow, that's like old Earth, 3D, old way of doing it, to new Earth, new way of being in a conscious family unit, just through you being awake and you having a child and nurturing that soul of that child. It's huge. It's so huge. You know, there's a lot of things about these kids that are different. There's different groups of them. So shall I share a little bit about that?
I'd really,
because it might help.
I'll be honest with you, you're making me get really excited about how.
Oh, it's exciting.
Because I'm like, you know, what you said about the traits, writing the traits down that you would like in your child. Obviously, I love it. I do that for the partner, because the partner isn't quite here.
Oh, I did that too.
Yeah. So it's a really good exercise to get into, of all the things, even if you want a pet, like it's a really good, really good to get into that habit of actually figuring out what it is that you choose. Because when you don't choose, you just get whatever you decide to have thrown at you.
So it makes you self-reflect, right, too. So you would have thought, what traits work with me? I definitely did that. And I got exactly what I was ordered up as well with my husband. Amazing. Like, it makes you reflect. Because I remember one thing I put on my list back then was like, and we've been together 18 years now, but I was like, I want someone that's really sensitive. And I thought to myself, my higher self said, no, you don't. What about if you just say something and he's too sensitive? No, you want someone who's stable, strong, but not like too sensitive. And I was like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, it makes you reflect. You don't want a child that's too sensitive either, you know, unless they can balance it.
I remember having this conversation with you in your kitchen, and I said to you, I always ask for somebody independent, because I'm an independent girl. Like, I'm on my mission, and I just, you know, I need somebody. But then we spoke about it, and we were like, no, maybe independent isn't the right one, because you do want to have cuddles, and you know, if both of you
you want to be like the female.
Exactly. So
so all you strong girls out there, and you know, Lucy and I come from the same camp, you know, and we had our corporate jobs, and I remember this guy saying to me once, I don't know what you need in a man. You don't need anything. Like, you're just like sorted. And I'm like, oh, but I want to be hugged, and you know, I want those softer things, you know. But because I could, you know, survive and do my stuff without someone, that's not always attractive, because people want to make sure they're there, and you know, they're fixing you or something, you know. So anyway, so yeah, don't forget, strong girls out there, soften up. And I'll tell you something that will soften you up, girls. I'll tell you, it will be having that baby and being conscious about having that baby. It melts you and it makes you go all, you know, sooky, as well as still being strong, right? And it stops you focusing on the real, you know, silly things in life, or, you know, have I had my nails done? Have I had that? I would get up in the morning, stick my cap on, put my trainers on, and just get out there. And I'd take Caleb in the buggy, and I'd go for a run first, you know, and I'd get him out, get his shoes off, put his feet on the earth, we'd be running around, and it would just be like, oh, this is so much better than what I used to do. Get my hair done in the morning, get out and go to work. I was like, whoa. So don't be afraid to go down that path, and it will mush you up. It will make you all soft and go in. It's lovely. And you will appreciate your body different as well. The power of the feminine body. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's amazing.
I love it. So
but anyways,
let's talk about these children then. Let's talk about the different types of children that we've got, Debs, because I think there's lots of myths around it. There's lots of confusion around it. So I think it would be really good to just hear from yourself about some of the key kind of like names, if you like, that we've got for these children.
I love it. So I always think this is a bit strange in a way, because we're trying to talk about something that's not kind of quantifiable, but I know people have sort of, I know there's flavors of these kids. I think of them like flavors, and really they're all conduits. So all the kids that are coming on the planet right now, their DNA is different. They're made up different. They're really set up for the new world, the new earth anyway. But there are flavors. So most of you people now, if you are going to have like a really conscious experience, you're probably an indigo yourself. So there's an indigo child, what we call an indigo. So that was back, you know, from 1960s, 1980s, they were born in that segment, right? And they were they're the ones that did it tough. We've done it a bit tougher because, you know, spirituality took time to wake up. People still waking up to who they are, and we've done it a bit harder. But these guys are normally the parents. So I'm an indigo with other flavors to me, but they're normally the parents of the new starseed children. That's a generalization, but that's normal, okay? And if you're having a conscious relationship with your child, that's normally what you'd be, an indigo. Or if you're born sort of 1980, if you're having a child younger, you're 1980 to 2000s, then you would be a crystal parent, all right? So let's talk about the crystals. The crystals are super sensitive. They love nature, they love animals, they don't like people as much, not as social, a bit introverted, a lot of them autistic. A lot of them have allergies to food, allergies to people. Once they learn to work with their sensitivity, if you've got a child with sensitivity, it's their gift. And once you teach them how to work with it, it's amazing. All right. But that's a generalization on crystals. And they came in 1980 to sort of early 2000. That's a big chunk of those kids, and that's a generalization because and they carry different rays of consciousness, all right, and different light, but they're still all connected, and they're all bright beings, and they're all star seeds, right? So that's the crystals. The next one's the rainbows. Now, the rainbows are my favorites because they're fun-loving, outgoing, joyful, resilient, but they dislike people telling them what to do. They don't like, being bossed around. They're resilient, but they're also strong-willed. Could we say it like that? Right? They're all super creative kids, those ones, actually, I've noticed. And when I look at their aura, it's very colorful. Like their aura looks very colorful, So they're really brought joy to the world. And since 2000, I've noticed most of the kids that have been coming in have been like that, right? Those rainbow kids. And you can look into their eyes and they'll look straight back at you. They're really like more out there, right? Whereas the crystals don't want to interact the same way. So it's a bit different. Then you've got the diamond children. Now, this is not a hierarchical thing, but the diamond, my son is a diamond child. Actually, he was the first one on the planet, and there were a couple after him. I'm talking about a handful. And then the rest of them started coming in a few years ago. All right. The diamond kids. Now, with the diamonds, they hold a very high ray of light, right? Diamond consciousness is connected to Christ consciousness. And their diamond light, their consciousness, they're here as a grid to accelerate our ascension. So literally their light, it crystallizes our DNA. It actually changes us into crystalline beings. So their light does that. Their grid on the planet does that. Wow. And of course, diamond's light is coming in now. Plasma light's coming, all different frequencies, different rays are coming in, and they've been coming in to accelerate the ascension because everyone's got to wake up and get to this, next phase. But these kids don't come in for lessons like normal kids. Most of them don't. They're like, I didn't come for normal life. I come to do, they're kind of more, they're older before their years, and they're very developed. Like I said, Caleb was walking real quick. I mean, at 3 years old, he'd read to his kinder group. All the kids are sitting around him, and then the teacher said to me, he can read? And I'm like, yeah, he can read. Give him a book, and she'd give him a book that she was going to read, like an adult book, to the kids, and he'd sit there and read for them. And it was really interesting for me to watch him unfold. They like these children, actually, most of them, guys, you have to give them things to do because they'll get bored, especially the rainbows and the diamonds. They get bored. The crystals like artwork and stuff, and nature connection and animals. But because they're so bright, if you don't give them their voice early, they're going to create hell in your world because they need their voice. Caleb never screamed, shouted because, I did certain things. So I'm going to tell you about something now that, we'll list down for the people. Because these bright ones need their voice early because they get frustrated being in high energy in a small body. I did this program called Your Baby Can Read. And it's by a doctor, a psychologist, Robert Titzer. And he did it for his daughter. And it's a reading program. And the brain learns in pictures, right? But schools try to teach kids a lot of them teach it through phonics, through sound. Well, this guy knew what he was doing. This whole program I did with Caleb, and it was phenomenal. I would recommend it to anyone. And all the time I was doing it, people would say to me, wow, your kid can speak. You know, he's a 2-year-old chatting. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing that with him. From 6 months old, he would recognize words. And by about 2.5, he had a vocab of about 300 words. Now, if you do that with these kids, not only will they get on very well in this world, but it stops them getting frustrated. And that program has like some videos and some all sorts of things, but it's all done like in picture format. But then when you go to read the words, there's no picture, so that they have to learn the word. But it's all in there. I won't go into it, but he was reading so quick, and that meant he could learn things from, you know, and do all this different stuff. But I would say to him, look, just because you can read it doesn't make you better than anyone else. Let's show, then you help your friends. So because these guys get all these skills, and I'd say to Caleb, and he's very humble anyway, I'd say to him, look, you're very good at that. How about you help your friend next door? And even when he's at school, the teachers used to say, oh, he's helping everybody. They call him the walking dictionary, because he'd be helping the class. And I said to her, that's fine, as long as it's not affecting his work, because I'd like to know that he's helping someone else. That's why we're all here. And she's like, you know, teachers would look at me like, and they would even say to me, how did you get your child like that? Because he's balanced, he's sensitive to others, and yet he's really smart. But guys, if you're conscious, you're going to know what to do with your babies. You're going to know how to imprint them, because they do need the imprint part, the human imprint. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But that program was one of the best things I ever did. And it was profound. And it still continues to be profound, because he's gone ahead a year in school. But he's able to read everything quick, take it in quick. The other things that I used to do were, when they're little and they're bubbas, right, you get them to reach across their body like this, so that you're mapping the two sides of the brain. And so he would be very dexterous, very good. He could do things on both sides. Or when he got to like a toddler and he was scooting, I'd say, swap your leg. You're using your right leg, now use your left leg. You know, I would change things up. I would change stuff all the time, like, so he didn't get used to patterns and have these really like simplistic patterns in his brain. So there's lots of cool things I know. But anyway, that's just a couple of things that help people, really, because if you don't, they're going to get frustrated. And your life can be so cool with these kids, you know, if you know what to do.
Yeah, they're really, really good tips.
And also what I did that saved, like, that was just amazing, okay? That recording that I put on YouTube, how to speak to your child's soul, I would do that with Caleb when he was a baby. So he'd be sleeping and I'd think, right, what are we doing tomorrow? What should we do? What's going to suit him? Or like when he was a toddler, I think, what does he want to eat, right? And of course you naturally do as an awakened parent, you'll know anyway, you guys. But I would stand at his bed head, right? He'd be asleep and I'd call his higher self in and I'd say, so what are we doing tomorrow? Where should we go? What energy do you want? Do you want to go to the beach, or should we take you to the library? And he would tell me, and I'd be like, okay, that's cool. So that you really need to nurture that. And once you've nurtured it, it's a little bit funny, because what happens is this: you're changing a baby's nappy, but you can hear the soul of the child, right? Not all the time, but a lot of the time. So you just go, this is really cool. I'm a parent, I'm a mum doing the nappy here. And yet he's talking to me on the other levels. He's my soul buddy, soul team member. Yes. And that's how we got into a team on our family, you know, as a conscious family unit. You saw this, babe, when you were here. You have to be a team, switch roles, you know, help each other out, lean into each other. We always have dinner together. We always exercise together most of the time. We meditate together sometimes, but do some, of our own. But yeah, you work all this out when you're awake anyway. But these little things, if you don't get them in early, because here's something you need to know. You know that saying, you give me the child until they're 7 and I'll know the man in them, or something. I think it's a Jesuit term anyway. So what happens is when bubbas come in, right, their brain is in theta state. So it absorbs everything in their surroundings. The reason why I did the Your Baby Can Read and did all these different things with him early, right, was because I knew it would be imprinted. And even the way I was talking to hubby, like, it's always loving, caring. We had that anyway, but that's why it's good to have a conscious relationship. But everything they're imprinting. And literally, they're not learning it. It goes, because their brain's in theta, it just slips in. So if you've had troubles when you've had your kids when you're younger, so let's imagine you're a single parent and, you know, there might be some lack in there, or you didn't have what you needed. Make sure you unpack it in yourself so your child doesn't carry it on. Because when you're doing a conscious relationship, you can't, you don't do that, right? Because they imprint everything in your surroundings. And I'll tell you a good source of information for that. Dr. Bruce Lipton, love that man. Dr. Greg Braden, they're amazing. And I also found something, these people don't know I'm going to mention their name today, but I am. I saw something online, this looks like a husband and wife team. It's called Max Rhymes. And they're grandparents now, and obviously, and the lady was a teacher, but they've brought out some little books that can help imprint really good things into your children. Because here's the news, guys. Even with a starseed child, your job, there's two main jobs you have. Your job is to imprint the human and help the human, you know, that part, the personality, that part, because that forms whilst they're in their body. So you can really imprint great things, like by the way you speak to them, by what you share with your husband, by books you read to them. And so that's a big part of it, right? You've got to do that. And then you've got to, it's kind of like, you've got to keep them connected to themselves. So if you, for example, or as a parent, you're meditating, then when you meditate, even when the bubbas, do it around your baby. Do it with husband and wife, do it. If like we used to do it like that, and Caleb just started joining us as he got a bit older. But you know, you've got to keep that energy pure. So like I used to use sacred geometry and put things around Caleb. Like if I took him into a supermarket, I didn't let people put their hands all over him because I didn't like the energy. So you have to maintain these babies' fields, guys. Right? You really do need to. That's why it's so important that you're in alignment, because they'll react. And I wouldn't. And the other thing is little things like when I take it to there's little nurses that come around your house and tell you what to do with your baby, and I would listen to her. And it's all old school, but these kids, these starseeds, they need different ways, you know, different things. So I'll just give you one little example, right? And I've lived through this, so I have loads of examples. But this one thing, I'll never forget this day. This lady said to me, you know, when you put your baby to sleep in that cot, and it was right by our bed, she said, you need to put him right down the bottom of the cot, and mums will know this, so that, you know, he can't smother with the blankets, you know, tighten him in and put him right at the bottom. And they all tell you that. In New Zealand, it's Plunkett nurse. But, you know, they all say the same thing. Because of cot death, you know, this where they can get smothered with clothing or bedding and stuff. Anyway, my higher self was talking to me and saying, your baby won't like that. And it told me what to do. So conscious parents, you'll know what to do. So I went down and bought one of those really firm pillows, like, you know, the ones, like memory foam pillow. I tied it to the end of the cot and I put his head right up against it. And I'll tell you why. He hated having an open crown chakra when he slept, right, in this realm, because he's come from pure realm. And it was like, I can't sleep when I've got things going on around my head. Put my head up at that pillow. And so I had to tie that, you know, I think I used a belt or something, so it couldn't come down, but it wouldn't have come down and smothered him anyway, because it was memory foam. Yeah. But that's one example. Like, and then she would say to me, you don't do that. And like little things like they'd say, with the teething, use these plastic things. I'm like, put plastic in my baby's mouth. I used to freeze carrots, babe, carrots, and ignore on that, and green beans. So you guys will figure it out. Right. And I've got loads of information that's going in a book. But I'll tell you, my son now loves raw green beans and carrots. Now, they imprint when they're babies and toddlers. So whatever you're imprinting. So guys, if you're not eating veggies and you're telling your kids to eat them, and your toddlers say, eat that, they're not going to eat them. They're imprinting what you're doing. So whatever you're doing, if you're being untidy, they're going to be untidy. If you're being rude, if you swear, if you don't meditate, whatever you're doing, they're going to show you. But you can't, if you're going to do a conscious soul to soul, right? You know, like I did, you keep yourself honest to things. What you think, oh yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, lots of little things helped along the way, but things like, you know, thinking about freezing a carrot instead of using plastic in my baby's mouth. Hello, I was like, okay. I mean, and what's this thing about, oh yeah, use Calpol when your baby's got, you know, a fever? You kidding me? You don't do that. You allow them to sweat it out. I mean, that's what's killing the bugs. And, you know, you give them rescue remedy or something, you know? So, but yeah, you guys will figure this out, but it is important to imprint them. All right. And they're picking up stuff from you.
I'm sat here listening to you and I'm like, I am so glad I have done the work. Because I'm like, I could just imagine what was going to come through.
It's really, really cool. So that's why I just put that recording on YouTube, because I was thinking, how did I do that? So when I went, oh my God, I just used to talk to Bubs. I used to talk to him every night when he went to sleep or whatever. And then he ended up sleeping in our bed as well. We've bought this really special cool thing that, you know, because really, guys, the tribal people knew what to do with their kids. You know, they'd keep them on them. They'd tie them on them during the day, walk around with their babies. And then they'd sleep with them in the bed, like in the, you know, close to them. And these bright beings as well, they often want that because they don't like the feeling of the other energy on the planet. So they need the aligned parents. So wherever I took him, excuse me, I maintained that energy field. You can put bubbles of light around them. I've got lots of little tricks and things that you can do, and they're fun things. But I would just ask Caleb, what do you need? You know, when like little things like when I went to kinder, when he went to kinder, I thought, I'll put little bubbles around him. I'll do all of that energy work, but I'm not going to choose the kinder. So I got on, I would say to Caleb, which one feels right to my little 2-year-old, or which one feels like the 3-year-old? He's this one. I'm like, he started choosing things. And then the ladies said to me there when I took him one day, they said, oh, leave him, he'll be all right, you know. And I'm like, oh no. I said, I'm not going until my child is happy for me to leave. She's like, oh no, he'll come right, he'll cry, but then no, I'm not leaving until my child's ready for me to leave. So again, when you're in alignment, when they're babies, whether you're talking to a nurse, a doctor, or whether you're talking about vaccinations or whatever you're talking about, stay in alignment, guys, and you'll be able to do what you want. And it becomes a lot of fun. Yeah. And you, as an awakened parent, and really clear in yourself, you'll know what to do in every moment, and keep them on you, keep them close to you, and because they will need that in this world, because it's kind of fractious energy, and they need the aligned parent. And that's why Kayla came to me, because he knew I would do it that way. Yeah. Right. And he came in earlier, but most of the diamonds couldn't come in earlier because they didn't have enough awakened parent, or they could do it like that. Now a lot of them are diamonds. So like we tuned in the other day, guys, because the children have got a collective voice. We tuned into them, and it was like most of the diamonds are like 2-3 years old, baby bodies, birthing now. You're going to have a diamond, baby, or two. So but they're all beautiful. They all carry different streams of consciousness. It's all perfect, but you got to get yourself in alignment.
I've got a question.
Now,
I've got a question.
Yes, babe, fire.
I've got a question. Okay, so say I've done the work. I've done the work. I've done the work. I know I've done the work. And then I pick somebody, because I know this is going to come up for people. I am with somebody who perhaps hasn't quite done the work. So maybe they are what I call awake. Maybe they're awake to the truth that's going on around the world right now. But to me, that's totally different to consciousness. And I know it will be to you as well. How does that work with your child, or with the child that you're bringing in? I just think that might be really useful, because a lot of people that I work with, either the man or the woman is much more conscious than their partner.
Yeah. So first of all, that's normal, One's more conscious than the other. And in the beginning, I knew, so for me, I could read Tsar, hubby, and I could see the potentiality there. And he was awake, but not fully like walking like he is now in his you know, self and knowing everything. But ladies, see, I knew he trusted me and he trusted who I was. So what you've got to look for, whether it's a guy or a girl, if you're matching up and you want this conscious family unit thing, it's the way you two guys work together. It's not so much, as long as one of those parents is fully aligned, you're okay. But if both are off whack, that is not going to work. You're going to get a karmic balance of one, and that's okay too. But if you want the conscious thing, you stay clear, and don't, and also be honest with your partner. Don't not tell him things or her. Be honest and authentic in that relationship, because I know some relationships aren't, and then when you have a child you go, oh my god, you're living that and your child is imprinting this. I'll tell you one thing these kids hate, like that's a strong word, but I'm going to tell you what they don't like. And I remember they told me this when I meditated one time, and I got this collective voice of the kids, and it was like, we do not like parents or caregivers or teachers that are not congruent with what they say. So they'll say one thing and do a bloody another. You know, clean your room. Oh, is your room clean? Or like, do that. And it's this dictatorship.
I am so
Listen, they didn't come. Well, because they didn't come to fit in, right, either. You guys, you need to know this. They're not going to fit in with everybody, okay? So really celebrate their uniqueness, all right? Yeah, they won't fit in everywhere, but they don't need that. They're here to change the world, guys, not to be the same as the other kids, okay? Yeah. That's why they need an awake parent, because it's like, well, you want them to be like Joe next door? Oh, well, you know, well, it's all, and they're asleep next door. So that doesn't make any sense. So you really got to be up for this conscious thing. And I'll tell you, it's a bloody joy to live inside when you are, because you got this, you know, it's all of you that are like it. But going back to your thing, if you've got one parent, the other one will get on the bandwagon, and the kid will make the dad or the mum do it, because it will come up, you know. I would say to Sarah, like, I'm going to do that. And he'd go, oh, I trust you. And then I'd do it. And I'd say to him, see, you know, you don't want to use that plastic thing. We'll give Caleb that frozen carrot instead. And he go, good idea. He'd go like, oh, good idea. And now he looks at me sometimes, he says, Deb, you've done an awesome job. I said, no, we have. He said, but no, I trusted you. And now he's more awake. He can see what's happened. So you'll all come on the same page. So and it's just
I love
dreamlike.
It so much. I love it so much.
You know,
your family is amazing. Like, you know, I love you guys. You're like my family.
We love you.
I know. And I'm literally, my ovaries are going, rah, we're ready, rah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's the feeling of it, and being so conscious is amazing. It's amazing. So, hey, can I do something? Because this came up before the call. There's two things that came up that I didn't, you know, jot down that I thought we might want to cover. But anyone that's listening to this, right, you know, in the future, whenever, something I just want to say to you, right, because your children really do choose you and you choose them, although, you know, most people aren't conscious of it, but you can be conscious of it. Let's do something. So imagine, right, so I'm just going to get you to close your eyes, because we'll do it for you and then everyone else is going to do it, and I'll talk to them more. It's very short and sweet. Yeah, of course you are. Lay down, girl. No, I'm only joking.
Let's not go there, because this is recording.
Oh, the funny inner child's coming out. Anyway, the teenager. So here's the thing. Okay, so with eyes closed, everyone, if you're listening to this whenever in the future, I just want to acknowledge you for being on the planet right now. And yes, it's an intense time. However, you know, you can live in a really aware state and in a really conscious family unit. And that's really all that matters, that conscious family unit. And before I got on the call, I tuned in, and there are some people that really, really need to hear this, okay? Now, there's a lot of information out there about parenting, and your child chose you because of everything you stand for. Like it's not about you being perfect. You're perfect for your child. So what we're going to do right now in just this few seconds here is I'm going to get you to release any guilt or shame about what you have or haven't done for your child, even listening to what I just told you, because there's different ways to do this. And your child chose you, which is why we called it this whole conversation today. So in front of you right now, I'm going to bring a big bubble, right? It's a big bubble and it's got like a little doorway in the front. It's an opening. And I want you to imagine, as you're listening to me, you're just standing in front of it. And I want you to empty your whole body of anywhere you feel guilt or shame about your parenting, what you've done or you haven't done. And if you haven't got your child right now, like Lucy, I want you to release the shame and guilt from other lifetimes of where you've parented and judged yourself for what you haven't done. Shame and guilt is a mind game. It's something that parents end up really stressing about what they're doing with their kids, and they hold all this energy inside. And I always say to parents, why would you hold that when your child chose you because you're so perfect for them? Even if it is to show them a certain quirk in your personality that they have to deal with. It's perfect. There's always a perfect divine kind of energy at play. So see how you've filled that bubble, and you don't even need to know where it's come from or even what went in there. But please align with this. You have just released into that bubble all shame and guilt around parenting, whether it's this life or old lives. Now watch as you close the door on that bubble. And we're going to use Saint Germain's violet flame. And we're going to transmute that energy, because when we do, that lightens your load as a parent. It'll stop you judging yourself and running old patterns. So see this burning now and acknowledge it. Remembering your child chose you, don't undermine their decision. Let's keep it real here. It's all perfect. So now that's burnt up and it's perfect. Just know there is no more guilt and shame, and stop judging yourself, people. You're doing a great job wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I love all you parents, you caregivers looking after our kids. And this is where Lucy and I joined. We're looking out for the young ones. And the best way you can do that is to clean your own self up and stay aligned. So just open your eyes, Lucy.
That was beautiful.
It's so important that, darling. People judge themselves. And even when I tell them some things that I share, listen, my experience was a chosen one and yours is yours and it's all perfect, and not to question that. The other thing that came up, and this is the last thing I wanted to share. It's really been obvious to me of late, like it's in the media, it's everywhere. It was at the school, people talking about mental health, whether it's of the children or people, this whole planet has got a disease and a mental health problem. What it is, and I really need to share this, when you're looking from the top down from a divine perspective, mental health is nothing but lack of connection to your own spirit, your own higher self. So parents, if you haven't connected back with who you are, then your child won't, right? So if your child's showing you symptoms of being off, you're feeling that, it's because they need to connect back, and so do you. Now, my son's got a recording on my website that can help the kids. And just know, the more you work on yourself, the more your child will mirror back to you that balance. I'm going to also tell you this, things are speeding up on this planet for a good reason. So it's really waking people up. So the answers to your future are not in your mind that you use daily. They're in your heart mind, right? So you have to start feeling your way. Things are not going back to the way they were. And that might sound a bit of a killjoy, but it's true. We're evolving. We're going from our minds to our hearts, our feelings. I've got a recording on my site for that. You have to listen to these things, because if you don't, you're going to feel you're going mad. If you've got depression, people, you're probably blocking your own higher self. You know, you're sitting in your old gunk, you're not cleaning up. Depression, okay. If you've got anxiety, probably not grounding, or you're not dealing with your old lives, they're cycling round and round. That'll create anxiety. So you gotta clean up and realize there's no such thing as mental health if you're looking at it from a divine perspective. It's all about you connecting back to your own magnificence, and then you'll realize, I am not the mind. I'm not the cranky things that go on in my head. I'm hearing my neighbor, other people. It's just we're evolving above it, and it's a bit loud out there, but you can tune it out. It's up to you. But don't go down in the hole with it, because it's just, yeah, we're just evolving. Get out of your head and out of your mind and into, back into your heart, you know. And my son's little, you know, those 4,
Yes.
how we are made up things.
Yeah.
The reason why we did that was because we are seeing this, like the schools were advertising, oh, we've got to look after our kids' mental health. And Caleb says, Mum, I'm not my mind. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but your mates don't know that. So it's kind of, that's why we got together and put those recordings out there.
Perfect.
And that wisdom is our wisdom. It's shared wisdom, right? Because he's grown up with me speaking that, and then he owned it and then spoke it. So if you know, you'll do the same in your way, and we're all doing it in our way, but hopefully it's helped some people, you know, look at it whatever way, whatever relationship they're in. It's a blessed one. You're gifted to have that child in your life. You're either clearing up, and that's a beautiful thing, or you're conscious and you're holding space for that child so that they can bring their magic into the world. They're all brilliant.
They really are.
So yeah, I'll tell you, we're both passionate about the kids.
Oh my
you know?
gosh, yes, we are very passionate about the kids, but my gosh, my heart chakra feels like it's going right now, like a Care Bear snare kind of thing, because I'm just so grateful for you and your time, and I am so grateful that the time has come to bring the consciousness around Caleb as well. So to everybody watching, I'm going to pop Deb's website, the link to her YouTube channel, which has the videos that she's just shared from Caleb on the website. Obviously there's the adult mind and also the meditation that Caleb has done. There's probably other stuff
for the younger ones.
Also, that's the best way to contact Debs. If you want to do a quantum healing session, go via her website. She's got a link on there how to contact her. I will. Do you want me to pop your Facebook details on as well, or not really?
Yeah, whatever you feel, definitely. Link up, because I'm going to bring some more things out. And the first thing that's going to come out is how to model to your children, like modeling through your own behavior. So I'm going to just put a little thing together that will be easy for people to grab, to help the ones that have got the kids and they want to model and imprint them. So that's something that I'm working on right now, because I just think it's important. We want to do the best we can. You know,
this is the time, right? This is the time that we've been waiting for, because we are now going into where we're going to be repopulating and creating new earth, as people are calling it. And you know, I love doing this stuff with you. We are 2 peas in a pod.
Same.
Sure.
We are. We talk the same. Same speed.
And it's just,
you know,
it's just beautiful to be bringing these messages, and I'm so glad that you're trusting me with them. And I think if you're open,
definitely
to do a series, even if it's just 1 a quarter or something like that.
Definitely.
1 a month, whatever works for you and your family. But we should look to do something much more regularly, because you know,
definitely
building very rapidly on here, and I just want to make sure that your voice is a voice that's being heard going forwards, because it's so important.
Thank you. And I'm totally up for that. And what's really become very apparent to me is my passion is with the families. Because I've been getting, Lucy, I've been getting family units. I get the mum for a session, the dad, and then the kids. My last one was 14 years old. And do you know how good that feels? It's like to watch a family unit and the difference they're making on the planet. It's amazing. So, yeah, you know, the mums before they get them and the mums and dads when they've got them. That's where I'm sitting right now. And I don't think I'm going to be leaving that space, you know, because I'm living it. And then sharing it is so powerful. I want to help all those mums and dads out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really big. And that helps the kids, right?
You're so good for my heart. And I know my friends absolutely love you. Literally, some of them are like, when's the video? Even Carrie last night, and I'm going to give her a little shout out.
Bless.
Carrie
yeah, Carrie. Yes.
And she said to me, she was like, oh my God, when is the video going to get released? And I'm like, babe, I'll get it out Friday night. I promise. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that it's uploaded and it's out there ready for you. And she's like, yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah. So, Debs, once again, thank you so much. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching this. Please do remember to hit the like button, which is the thumb up. Please do remember to subscribe to not just my channel, but also Deb's channel. And please do read the description if you want any of the information from today. I get a lot of messages from people saying, can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? Look in the description. It's all going to be there.
Yes.
And it's best to go via our websites. If you want to get hold of me, if you want to get
easier,
go via our websites rather than social media. My social media is, you know, I get so many messages a day. I don't respond very often. So, you know, please.
I don't even have Messenger from Facebook on my phone because it interrupts. I like to keep my family life quite solid. So it's like, hold on a minute. Fine line boundaries.
And,
you know,
and I don't have it on my phone either. And people say, but you haven't responded in 3 days. And I'm like, all you need to do is what I'm telling you. If I'm saying something in a group, respond in the group and we're good, you know. So
definitely.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much.
Love you all. I love you parents out there.
I love you, my love.
Love to the world.
We're here to change it, that's for sure. Guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
Okay, bye everyone.